Though I haven't read the Book of Revelations in a while, I'm pretty sure that somewhere after the third horseman and just before the moon turns blood red, that there would be the coming of a game that would lead the world into chaos, anarchy, and death. As it turns out, there are 3 games that have shown themselves as harbingers of the apocalypse, and the pale horse has a rider with 1 face. Pray for a quick death, because the end is nigh and Burger King is leading the way. The first game of the Armageddon is Sneak King. Imagine if Sam Fisher really did go rogue and decided to terrorize America. Sneak King would be the strategy he would use. Enter an unsuspecting suburb, sneak up on people, and offer them horribly unhealthy foods that over time will kill them. Oh, and do a little dance. Remember when you were little and you jumped into your bumper car, but you got stuck in the corner because the car didn't work properly, and then just before you could have the pleasure of giving your little brother whiplash, they shut down the power for the next group of carnival goers to have a turn, leaving you with a feeling of amazing disappointment. That's what the game Big Bumpin' is like. When the loading screen is longer than the actual game, you have to ask yourself if it's worth the effort. But I guess if you're really desperate, there's the multiplayer mode, which lets you share the misery with a friend. In Pocket Bike Racer, the final horseman of the apocalypse has traded in his steed for a very small bike. You'll race around various locations in a Mario Kart-style race, minus all the fun of Mario Kart. Physics are often glitchy, and the courses can get boring quickly, but it is the best of the bunch. Look, everyone knows these games aren't good. They're quick gimmick to make a buck and advertise Burger King. So if we're going to be promoting fast food on the show, let's take a look at exactly what the king is shilling. 760 calories in 1 Whopper with cheese, and 47 grams of fat. Or how about the chicken tenders? Only 780 calories with 43 grams of fat and 4 grams of heart disease-producing trans fats. Can you say delicious? Maybe you want to go healthy and have a salad. The tender, crisp chicken garden salad with honey mustard dressing only has 670 calories and 44 grams of fat. But enough with the numbers. Anyone eating Burger King should know by now that the food is garbage, and so are these games. Sneak King gets a 1. Big Bumpin' gets a 2, and Pocket Bike Racer gets a 3.
The 90s was arguably one of the best times for video games. You had so many new consoles coming out, and with junk food being popular and already advertising to kids, they decided to jump on the bandwagon and start making their own video games. Most food companies just stuck to TV commercials, got milk, fruit stripe gum, Lunchables, and of course Mentos, the fresh maker. Those companies didn't have to make video games, but guess who did? Cheetos, McDonald's, and Domino's Pizza, who created Noid. What's the deal with the Noid? What kind of drugged-up fever dream spawned this mutilated mascot monstrosity? It's a creepy guy wearing a red rabbit suit. And why does he ruin pizzas? What were they thinking? Most junk food games were just a bunch of business bullshit from the wasted imaginations from all the corporate fat cats. So, get out your pooper scooper and let's dig out this piss litter of a game. Whoa! What the fuck? You scared the shit out of me. Not this shit, actual shit. Listen, I gotta play this game. You gotta get out of here. Huh, what? Drink? How do you play drink? What kind of title is that? The back is in Japanese, and the side has the title in Japanese, and then the other side has it in English. Pepsiman. Pepsiman?
Pepsiman! Pepsiman!
Pepsiman?
Pepsiman!
Okay, so Pepsiman is this weird T-1000 looking Japanese Pepsi mascot who helps people by magically turning things into Pepsi. In all his TV commercials, he's a bumbling idiot who stumbles around, smashes into windows, and transforms into a cactus? Even though he was only marketed in Japan, all his commercials take place in the USA. He even starred in his own video game, and was also featured as an unlockable character in the Japanese version of Fighting Vipers for the Sega Saturn. To unlock him, all you gotta do is lose the first fight. Never seen that before. You lose to unlock a character? Well, thanks, Pepsi Man. That's very interesting, but I have other junk food games I could play, like Cool Spot. Oh, come on. Oh, well, I could always play Chester Cheetah. Oh, well, how about, Big Bumpin'? Oh, man. How about, Kool-Aid Man? God damn it, you silly fuck. I don't want to play Pepsi Man. Okay, jeez. I'll play Pepsi Man. Well, in the chance that you were looking forward to Cool Spot or Yo Noid, can't play them because they're all Pepsi Man now. Everything I want to play is Pepsi Man. Yeah, well, I guess let's pop this corporate cock fuck in. The intro starts with this live-action cutscene of a guy buying a Pepsi. As he drinks it, you hear the shrill shriek of Pepsi Man set to surf music. And then he stares into the can. Okay, so is Pepsi Man in the can now? I don't even get it. I mean, this is fucking stupid. I'm not playing it. Okay, I'll play it. Next, we see Pepsi Man running down a street to nowhere as he crashes face first into the game's logo. What the hell's wrong with this mascot? Chester Cheetah was cool. Cool Spot had cool in his name. But Pepsi Man, he's not cool at all. He doesn't make me want to drink a Pepsi. Makes me want to drink a fucking beer. What? I said it makes me want to drink a fucking beer. Oh, come on. All right. Wow, that's a lot of Pepsi. I bet his bowel movements are like tar and colon foam.
Hey, let's start the game!
So the first level starts off with Pepsi Man meeting a truck driver with a flat tire.
There are a bunch of people gathered in front of the vending machine. They want Pepsi! And the word is that they're just about to riot.
Really? They'll riot? Why is Pepsi such a big deal here? Is that one vending machine the only place to get a Pepsi in this town? I mean, there's Pepsi everywhere. It's laying all over the streets. You can get one anywhere. So Pepsi Man runs around collecting Pepsi while dodging cars, pedestrians, pogo jackhammer fucks, chuds, and this garbage man who's being an asshole. Look, they wait for him at the intersection and then start launching garbage out the truck. Dicks. Pepsi Man doesn't give any shits either. He'll run right through your house. Hell, he'll even run right into you and send you flying through your kitchen wall. That guy's probably dead. This part reminds me of the chase scene in Raising Arizona, but instead of Nicolas Cage, it's Pepsi Man, and instead of Huggies, it's Pepsi's. Here, you crash through a shed and end up with a trash can on your head, which makes your controls opposite. Yeah. Finally, I get to the end of the level and he buys a Pepsi from a vending machine. Why don't the people go to this one at the Kid and Kid store instead of riding like a bunch of Pepsi-crazed freaks? And why does Pepsi Man buy a Pepsi when he just collected 94 Pepsis? And why can't I go one goddamn sentence without saying Pepsi? That's enough for me. This game's too monotonous. Oh, dude, your breath. It smells like tooth decay. Here, have some Mentos. Wow. That worked. Thanks to Mentos.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Well, fuck it. I'll just keep going. So in level 2, there's this radical skateboard part. It sucks. The controls feel stiff and one hit kills you. I guess it makes sense. If you were riding a skateboard down the hills and crashed into a trolley, you'd be dead. Now a moving company's trying to kill Pepsi Man too? They're just driving with the truck wide open, launching furniture at him. That's someone's furniture! Imagine if you hire a moving company to load up all your furniture and you get to the new house and then it arrives, the van is empty and you're like, hey, where the hell's all my furniture? And they say, oh yeah, we saw Pepsi Man on the way over and we had to just chuck it all at him. Yeah, that'll be $500. So finally, you make it to the rioters who are going apeshit by this Pepsi machine. This one's at a different kid and kid store, and this one lady's biting her shirt or something, and this guy's jacking off. Pepsi Man gives them Pepsi, and all is well. That is, until the Pepsi truck smashes into you, sending you into a Pepsi billboard with a giant Pepsi can that rolls after you, Indiana Jones style. Now I'm being chased. Yeah, this time I'm running towards the camera instead of away. Way to shake up the gameplay there. I hate this. I wish I had something wittier to say, but there's really nothing. I mean, this game is just mindless brain waste. It's an advertisement that's meant to push processed poison pissed out of Pepsi Man's pee hole.
Speak of the devil, you're back. What's that you got there? That's not Pepsi. That's a Rolling Rock. An actual Rolling Rock.
You know what? Pepsi Man's actually pretty cool. Cheers, buddy. This isn't Rolling Rock. It's not even beer. This is Crystal Pepsi. And it's old. Like, what is this, from the 90s? It's all flat. You know what? Fuck you. You're shit and your game is shit.
Have a Pepsi.
No thanks.
Next stage.
So the next part, you gotta get to the top of a burning building. The firefighter can't get first aid to them in time, so of course, you bring them Pepsi. Oh yeah, I'm sure that'll help all the people trapped on the roof of a burning fucking building. Yeah, treat their burns with some Pepsi. Thanks to Pepsi Man. This level is horrifying. It's like society's final days, brought to you by Pepsi. This guy here smashes his car into a brick wall and explodes, but Pepsi Man just runs by. That guy's probably dead, but I gotta get those people Pepsi! So after traversing this urban hellscape, you get to this truck that keeps launching barrels. Yeah, I guess Donkey Kong's in there, and he hates Pepsi Man as much as I do. After that, you get to the most unsafe construction zone ever. Girders are falling apart, sections of the bridge are missing, these guys are just swinging metal beams, and the bulldozers are just spinning around. What's happening here? Pepsi Man stops to buy yet another Pepsi and falls into one of my most hated video game cliches ever, the sewer level. This is where the shit graphics really shine. It's so dark that you can't see where you're going. There's pitfalls everywhere, and the only reason I know they're there is because I fell into them 50 times. I feel like it'd be easier in real life to run through a sewer and collect Pepsi. Right here, I swear, you have no choice but to get hurt by this wall. There's no way to pass it, and even when you do, there's a narrow path you need to hit, or else you're starting over. Another part that's bullshit is the subway section. I don't know what to do. There's a train coming right at you with no time to avoid. I tried dodging it, but I get killed every time. Then, after restarting the level like 12 times, I accidentally found the dash function. Yeah, hitting up and square lets Pepsi Man dash. How was I supposed to know that? On the control screen, it only shows slide and jump. Maybe it says it in the book, but it's all Japanese. At the rate I'm going, I'll probably learn Japanese before I finish this game. Who's calling? Oh, come on, nobody's calling you! Hello?
Hello, is Pepsi Man there?
Oh, I guess it is for you.
No, don't give him the phone. You need to listen to me very carefully. You need to get out of there. Pepsi Man is evil. He wants nothing more.
Oh, come on, don't you know how hard it is to find a good phone like this? So finally I reach the burning building and give the poor stranded people some Pepsi. Then I get chased by the truck from the Enter Sandman music video. It's basically the same as the giant Pepsi can from the first level, just a bit harder. Eventually Pepsi Man turns down the road as the truck smashes through a building. It seems like no one in this world has value for human life. Just motherfucking Pepsi. Look at that. The truck smashes into something, and Pepsi Man pays no mind and just keeps on running like Forrest Gump.
Pepsi for TV game.
Not video game? TV game? I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, from now on, I'm the angry TV game nerd. Here we go, on to the next disaster that requires Pepsi. This time it's a motherfucking plane crash. Jeez, there's lots of tragedy in this game. Thankfully, all the people are okay, but they need their Pepsi, goddammit. So, you guessed it, more running. It's the same thing over and over. This time you're going down a highway with traffic coming on both sides, which begs the question, why doesn't Pepsi Man just run on the side of the road? There's trucks, motorcycles, buffalo, and a bunch of rocks rolling. But no rolling rocks. You get to the end and Pepsi Man, once again, buys a Pepsi at a vending machine. You know, Pepsi Man is a rather sad tale. Pepsi Man can make Pepsi for everybody except himself. This next stage is a nightmare. After beating the desert, you run through the mine where you can't see shit. How is anyone supposed to play this? There's pits everywhere, but good luck seeing them. It doesn't help that if you get a game over, you have to run through the desert part again. You're gonna be here for a bit. Each time I'd get a little further and then die at whatever came next. This part is like really having to piss and knowing the next rest stop isn't for 200 miles. So about an hour later, when I happen to do less shitty enough, I finally deliver those poor plane crash victims their Pepsi. And of course, another chase level. This time I want you to guess who chases Pepsi Man, because it makes no sense. Is it Buffalo? Nope, nice try. Motorcycles? Keep guessing. Rolling rocks? No again. This time you get chased by a giant tumbling mass of logs.
Pepsi for pizza.
Pepsi for pizza? Yeah, actually a pizza would be pretty good right about. Oh, thanks. I hate you. Okay, so thankfully we're on to the final level, Pepsi City, a dystopian urban sprawl that should pose as a warning of rampant consumerism. It's a place that's completely comprised of advertisements. Imagine if Roddy Piper wore the sunglasses from They Live Here. His head would explode. Honestly, seeing all these Pepsi logos and playing this game is doing the exact opposite of making me want a Pepsi. It makes me want not a Pepsi. So this time the computer at the Pepsi factory has gone haywire, and without Pepsi Man's help, there'll be a world shortage of Pepsi. So Pepsi Man must run! You're gonna die here a fuck ton of times. This is a culmination of all the frustrating bullshit, and then some. This has to be the most unhealthy city in the world. It's no wonder people are keeled over on the side of the street. How about drink some water? That might help. One thing I don't understand is why every sign in this game falls off when Pepsi Man gets near it. Are the signs sentient creatures bent on inconveniencing Pepsi Man? Everything is so precise for such a piece of shit game. It took me the same amount of time to beat the stage than every other stage combined. I game overed 13 times. Each continue, you get 4 lives. Plus, I died 3 more times before I finally passed it. Maybe I just suck, maybe the game sucks, maybe we both suck, but either way, that's too much suckage going around. This last section, you can't hit anything or you're dead, and you only have a few seconds to do it. But finally, I've made it to the computer core, and the world can have their precious Pepsis. Onward to the last chase level. This time it's another giant Pepsi can that falls off 2 columns. Seriously, Pepsi City and the rest of the world for that matter needs to find a decent structural engineer. Everything's falling apart. This time the can just falls for no reason. What if a regular person happened to walk under this thing? There'd be lawsuits out the ass. This last level is like the log one, except it's a Pepsi can that gives birth to baby Pepsi cans that try to trip you. When you beat it, the TV game guy flips his shit, the credits roll, and then he has to piss because of the ungodly amount of Pepsi he's consumed.
Excuse me.
Beating it unlocks Classic Pepsi Man and Free Play mode if you want to play through and collect all the Pepsis. I say, however, fuck that, good riddance, the end. Well, that's Pepsi Man. I'm not going to play it again as Classic Pepsi Man or unlock other bullshit or whatever, so I'm done. Get the hell out of here.
Kool-Aid Man was a huge advertising icon for kids growing up in the 70s and 80s. And in the old television commercials, he would smash his way into a room whenever kids were looking for something to drink. his popularity was so huge that it even crossed over into the realm of video games. Now there are two different Kool-Aid games that were made, one for the Atari and one for the Intellivision. Now since both these games are completely different from each other, for this review, we'll be looking at both. First, let's go ahead and check out the Atari version. Now the first thing we see in this game is the familiar scene of Kool-Aid Man bursting through the wall. And this is a very nice touch, because what could be cooler than that? Oh yeah! Kool-Aid Man! Oh yeah! What the hell? That's my wall you just destroyed! Oh yeah! Damn it, Kool-Aid Man, I'm in the middle of a game review. Get the hell out of here! Okay! How come all these interruptions always happen on my show? Alright, so after the nostalgic intro, the game begins and you get to play as Kool-Aid Man. Now the enemies in this game are colored balls that fly back and forth across the screen, and depending on where they're released, determines their color. In this row we only find red balls. In this row, we find orange balls. And in this row, we only find blue balls. So guys, you might want to avoid this row. Now these enemies are called thirsties. And in this game, they travel around the screen and randomly stop to extend a straw into the pool of water below in order to start sucking it dry. Now as Kool-Aid Man, your job is to collect these thirsties only while they're drinking. Because if you touch them while they're moving, shit! They bounce your ass across the screen. This especially gets annoying later in the game when the enemies keep knocking you into other enemies over and over again. Oh, come on! This also becomes a pain in the ass when the water's almost gone and you can't even collect the enemy in time. Shit! Now thankfully, there are also a few power-up items you can pick up in this game. Periodically, letters will randomly fly across the screen, and each one represents a different ingredient that makes up Kool-Aid. If you manage to catch just one, your player will go from being a sissy small pitcher of Kool-Aid into a huge hulking invincible Kool-Aid killing machine! Nothing will stand in your way now! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Ah, God damn it, Kool-Aid Man again? Oh yeah! Don't you realize I have a door? Oh yeah! Just get the hell out of my house! Okay! It's getting ridiculous. Now each level has 30 enemies you have to destroy. Once you've gotten them all, you get to advance to the next level, and everything moves just a little bit faster than before. But even though level 1 is pretty simple to beat, just wait until you reach level 50. Holy shit! Out of hell with this game. Now for those of you who can't get enough of the big red guy, there was also a second game produced for the Intellivision. Now upon starting, you take control of two kids, and their mission is to go around a huge 3-story house and collect the 3 ingredients that make up Kool-Aid. Now after locating one, it's your job to pick it up and bring it over to the kitchen area. And you can tell it's a kitchen by the giant sink. Now each kid can carry one item, and this really comes in handy when you're trying to beat the game's 10-minute time limit. Now during all your running back and forth, you'll also notice that there are 2 thirsties roaming around the house. Instead of touching them like in the Atari version, you'll want to avoid these guys at all costs, because if you get too close to them, they'll change direction and start to chase after you. Now this is something that you don't want to happen, because if they manage to catch up to you, one of the kids will be frozen in place. Get hit a second time, and the game will be over. This especially sucks when both kids are carrying items, because the item also gets frozen in place along with the kid. Not even a Final Fantasy item will cure this petrification. Damn. Now grabbing both the Kool-Aid mix and pitcher items are pretty easy to do. But the sugar, on the other hand, is placed just out of your reach. The only way to grab it is by finding the step ladder that's directly above it. So after grabbing the ladder and bringing it back to the table, it's time to grab the sugar. But not so fast, because you also have to make sure you drop it directly in front of the table. If you place it just off to the right, you'll climb up and won't be able to reach it. Place it off to the left, you'll climb up and, where the hell am I? So after grabbing the final ingredient, it's then time to head back to the kitchen for the final time. Now if you fail to make Kool-Aid before the timer runs out, you'll end up getting the big fat game over screen. And rightly so, because even if you can't make Kool-Aid in real life in under 10 minutes, it's pretty much game over for you too there, pal. Damn it! Alright, so after you've collected all 3 ingredients and placed them in the kitchen, you'll finally be able to make Kool-Aid and summon the Kool-Aid Man. Now it's time to sit back and watch the magic begin. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh come on, Kool-Aid Man! Why the hell you keep destroying my house? Oh yeah! You burst in here one more time and your days are numbered, pal. Okay. So after Kool-Aid Man smashes his way into the game, your job now is to hunt down the thirsties that were chasing after the kids. Once you've found them both, the mission is over, and you get to advance to the next level. Now you get the pleasure of doing it all over again. Again and 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 again until you lose your mind from making Kool-Aid. Boy, I'm starting to get sick of this game. Oh yeah! Damn it, Kool-Aid Man, what the hell? Oh yeah? Oh, that's it, Kool-Aid Man. You jumped through your last hole, buddy. Oh no! Time to get me some Kool-Aid. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Now back to Ronnie the Skeleton's Christmas special. Oh, look, it's snowing. I can't believe it. It's another Christmas miracle. Boy, I love this show. Looks like I'm going to need some more Kool-Aid.
Cool Spot was a huge advertising icon for kids growing up in the 70s and 80s. And in the old television commercials, he would walk around and stuff. His popularity was so huge that it even crossed over into the realm of video games. There were 2 popular games, Cool Spot and Spot Goes to Hollywood. For part 1, I'll cover Cool Spot, and for part 2, forget about part 2. So could Cool Spot possibly be a possible good game? Abso-fucking-lutely not. This game is horrible. Shell Shock? I can't believe it. They stole that right from TMNT4, which is only available on the SNES. What a shameless ripoff. Cool Spot? What the hell are you doing here? I'm in the middle of a joke that I'm gonna keep repeating throughout this review. Now get the hell out of here! Why do I keep putting these interruptions into my show? You start the game in the desert, and you get to play as Cool Spot. This game really reminds me of Diablo, because in both games, you control a character. Now here's how the game works, because my viewers have never played a video game before. When you push the A button, you will move into the air, which is called jumping. Now the B button will cause you to attack. You can use this ability on your enemies in order to defeat them. But when you're doing that, make sure the enemies don't hit you. When the enemies hit you, you take damage. Taking damage is a bad thing because if you take too much damage, you lose a life and go back to the beginning of the level. This number right here is the number of lives that you have. You lose 1 every time you take too much damage. And the worst part is, if you lose all your lives, the game ends. It's really enough to piss a gamer off. First, you have to collect these other spots, which increases your coolness. What the fireballs of shit? It should start at 100%, cause I'm the fucking third-rate gamer. Hell, I'm at least cooler than that fucking angry video game nerd who ripped off my Castlemania review again. Seriously, are you gonna sit there and tell me that it's just a coincidence that he reviewed the same 3 games I did, and just happened to use the same title card that I did? How can anyone even defend this asshole? It's mind-baffling. So I'm still looking for more of these red dots, and what do I come across? An MP3 player. Awesome. I wonder if they have any Van Halen songs by Van Halen. Bitchin'. Holy shit! Gimme, gimme, gimme! Fuck! It won't let me pick it up! What a bunch of penis pancakes! Ugh! This game is so frustrating! Wait a minute. Frustrating. I did it. I said it correctly! I finally learned how to say the word frustrating! Anyway, another thing that makes this game so frustrating is this power-up here. It says 7-up, but when I grab it, my number of lives doesn't increase at all. Didn't they test this game before they released it? You know, it wasn't funny the first time you showed up, so keep doing it. It also bothers me that this game has crabs. Crabs, get it? This game has crabs. No, you don't get it? Eh, don't worry. I'll ruin the joke for you when I get around to re-releasing this video. And I'll also add a short segment where I say the game isn't really that bad, because that will make everyone forgive me for bashing such good games. These crabs are all over the damn game. I thought I was playing Cool Spot, not Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Shit! This game would be a lot more easier if there weren't so many enemies trying to kill me. Just leave me alone, I'm trying to collect dots. If I can't beat this game, how the hell did they expect an imaginary character to do it?
Yeah. I don't like this game. It sucks because I keep dying on purpose.
Well, thanks, Billy. Find cage? Shouldn't this say find the cage? This is some of the worstest, most stupidest piece of not good grammars I ever saw. So once you find cage, you shoot it and the level ends. And skilled enough players will move on to a bonus stage. This bonus stage is the biggest piece of shit I ever saw! Just look at all this shit! What is this, a fucking Picasso painting? This also becomes a pain in the ass when time runs out, and the bonus stage ends. You think that's bad? Remember the time I tried to go to space and use a credit card? Do you take Discover? See, I told you my humor is just like Family Guy. I'm also just like Penn & Teller's bullshit, which is only available on HBO. After level 1, you move on to level 2. This level is just horrible because... I'm not gonna bother explaining it. Level 3 is this really spooky building. Wow, this spooky building really needs some investigating. And some game designer who's laughing his ass off decided to make each level more difficult than the previous, if you can believe that. But what are these enemies doing in a 7-Up game? Were any of these guys in the classic commercials? Why didn't they use any of the other classic enemies from the commercials, like... But no. Instead, make way for Crabman, Worm Guy, this mouse thing, and Mr. Fireman. And you may not have noticed, but there's a lot of product placement in this game for a popular cola, 7-Up. Sure, a logo can go a long way, but did they have to put this shit all over the frickin' game? These advertisements somehow ruined the gameplay for me. Fuck this shit. I'm turning it off. Well, now I've just about had it.
Holy fucking shit!
Ah, 7-Up. Oh, I'm all out. Well, I guess it's time for a refill.
Fuck!
Now I loved 7-Up when I was growing up, but Wait a minute. Where the hell's the DNL? That's right! DNL, the long-lost flavor of 7-Up. DNL got its name from 7-Up because if you turn 7-Up upside down, it looks like it says DNL. I loved DNL when I was a kid because the name is a dumb little joke, so it really matches the humor on my show. Over the years, 7-Up came up with a bunch of other flavors, like 7-Up Gold and Pomegranate. But where are these flavors now? Going through the grocery store to find my favorite flavors of 7-Up just isn't as fun as it was when I was a kid. Back in the day, there were about 4 different 7-Up flavors to choose from. But today, you'll find less than half that number sitting on the shelves. Of course, you'll still find the classic flavors like 7-Up and Diet 7-Up. But it begs the question, what the hell happened to all these gimmicky flavors? Why are all these flavors missing from the 7-Up lineup? And why take out all the flavors that made 7-Up great? Now we're just left with crap granite. So now what are my neighbors gonna serve at the party I'm not invited to? I just can't figure out why these flavors aren't being sold anymore. Are you seriously gonna tell me that the reason why they stopped is because they weren't earning enough money, so they decided to stop selling them so they could sell the more popular flavors instead and make more money? Fuck that! Fountain drinks are ruined!
This review is being done after a challenge from the Genesis Gems podcast, who apparently couldn't agree if this game was good or garbage, so now it's up to yours truly to break the tie. Unless I call it a gem, which would really mess everything up. Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool, is based on the 1986 mascot for the 1948 snack. This was done at a time when Chester was in more of a rhyming mood. It was published by Kaneko and carries a copyright year of 1993. Mad Eugene the zookeeper has stolen Chester's motorcycle, chopped it up into several parts apparently so he could sell it easier on the black market later, and hidden it around the zoo. Now it's up to you to find the parts and put your motorcycle back together, because you know, if there's one thing cheetahs are good at, it's assembling complex machinery. Chester Cheetah is a platformer for one player only with one standard mode of difficulty. The game is comprised of 5 levels. You only get 1 life with a 4-hit life bar that can be refilled if you find the paw-shaped Cheeto snacks. You also get 5 continues, which will send you to the beginning of the level you last died on. To complete a stage, you must reach the exit with a piece of your motorcycle, which will either be hidden somewhere in the stage or awarded to you after defeating a boss. You use the D-pad to move Chester, the B button to dash, and the C button to jump or to flap the wings of the butterfly that you are flying on in the final stage. You can jump on most enemies to knock them out, however you cannot dash until you find the white sneakers in a level. Yeah, that's right, despite the fact that Chester is a cheetah, he moves very slow until you find these mythical shoes. I guess that's what happens when you sit on the couch all day eating processed cheese snacks. But when you do get the shoes and press the B to dash, it takes a moment for him to get going. So they must be Reebok pumps, since you gotta give him a little time to pump them up. There are other items you can collect as well. The smaller circle icons can be collected to give you points at the end of stages. Touching the sunglasses will make the background black and white, revealing hidden items. So that's what happens when you wear 2 pairs of sunglasses at once. Finding the guitar will make you invincible as you slowly jam away, unless you fall into the water hurting yourself, which is what will happen if you touch the guitar in the 3rd stage. Now that is what I call super programming. Occasionally Chester will ride on boats, mine carts, and the aforementioned butterfly, and in a single bonus stage on a skateboard. Actually, I found the controls when Chester was off foot to be more enjoyable than when he was on. Graphically speaking, I thought the game looked nice and cartoony, especially Chester and his facial expressions. Now, while the Genesis Gem crew found the music to be enjoyable and a high point of the game, I personally thought it was merely okay and not that memorable. As far as family friendliness goes, the game does contain some Looney Tunes style animated violence. At the time of my research on eBay, loose copies were being sold for about $13, but no one was buying them at that price. But there were some complete copies that were selling between $10 and $29, and those prices include shipping. So what did I think of Chester Cheetah Too Cool to Fool? Overall, I found it to be boring and at times a frustrating platformer. Some of the vehicle moments were cool, but I did not like the sluggishness of Chester on foot, which is how he spends most of the game. Nor did I like the several cheap hits I encountered while playing. I also thought that the level design could have been better, as it wasn't always clear what I was supposed to do. For instance, when you encounter a boss fight, you might need to simply wait until a motorcycle part appears, or you might have to attack them in a special manner. However, it's not very clear exactly which one the game wants you to do, and it basically comes down to trial and error, which I'm not a fan of, especially since if you die trying to figure it out, you'll have to restart the entire level, moving sluggishly the way Chester does until you get another crack at it. So if I was going to rate Chester on the Genesis Gem scale of either gem, good, or garbage, I would have to put this one in the trash bin. I'm sorry, host Rob, you may have liked this one, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and apparently most of us need special glasses to appreciate this one. So where am I going to rank Chester on my own list? Well, as you could guess, pretty low. Actually, I thought the much maligned Bubsy was a more enjoyable platformer at 13, as well as the awful Mighty Max at 14. And I would even prefer another lame battle with balls with a Z at 15, so out of 16 games I've reviewed on the Sega Genesis, I'm going to put the sluggish Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool, all the way at the bottom.
It's always weird when you run into a corporate-sponsored video game and it ends up actually being halfway decent, or in some cases, pretty good. Look at Cool Spot for both Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. That game is a perfectly good playthrough. It stars the old 7-Up logo, and the entire game is designed to get you to go and buy soda. Meanwhile, on the NES, there was stuff like Yo Noid, starring the old Domino's Pizza mascot, the Noid, a mischievous little claymation dude whose primary objective in life was to prevent Domino's customers from getting their pizza in 30 minutes or less. Whoa, wait a second, this game was published by Capcom and developed by Now Production, who had a hand in games like Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu and the Adventure Island series? This game can't be bad. Well, it's not bad, but it's not all that great either. It's essentially a reskin of the Famicom title Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru, and it was localized in the US a few months later to include the Noid and all sorts of references to pizza. The story was also changed, so you have to rid New York City of Mr. Green because John Mayer knows you can, I guess? You use your Super Yo-Yo and various other power-ups to get through 14 levels on 3 lives and 1 continue. No saves or passwords, and there's 1 hit deaths here. Yup, you better believe it is cheap as hell. Even touching water kills you. The thing is, though, the point system makes it very easy to earn extra continues, so don't let that scare you off. The end of each odd-numbered level has not a boss fight, but a pizza-eating contest against that particular area's defending champion, and it's pretty much just a card game. Your opponent selects a random card, then you pick a card, one with a higher number if it's available, and whoever has the higher number wins that round and earns the difference between the 2 numbers in pizza. Whoever fills their meter at the bottom first wins. For example, if the computer selects a card with a 2 on it and you select 3, you get 1 pizza. You can also deploy tactics like choosing the pepper card that makes the boss's pizza taste like crap, and you can collect these items for later use throughout each level. This is a nice idea, and I appreciate that it's something different, but it drags on for way too long, and after a while, I'd have preferred just a good old-fashioned boss fight. There's also levels where you're on a skateboard, or floating around with this mini propeller thing, or bouncing around on the Noid's pizza crusher. There's hidden areas you can jump into where you play whack-a-mole for a while, and there's also power-ups available if you hit these scroll things with your yo-yo. You can eventually use Dark Noid, which allows you to speed up and jump higher, and there's clear screen attacks you can use as well. Just press down and B to make them happen. I should note that in the original version of this game in Japan, instead of a yo-yo, your character has a hawk that sits perched on his shoulder and attacks enemies. Your hawk also carries you instead of using that propeller thing. It's entirely cosmetic, but I don't know, it sure seems a lot cooler than, some goofy pizza mascot. The boss fights are the same, only instead of pizza, you're comparing weapons, I guess. It's still just as tedious, unfortunately. Most of the other stuff between the 2 games remains the same, they just altered the settings and the enemies in the North American version. So yeah, Yo Noid is extremely average. It is an interesting game at times, but certain parts can really drag and bore the hell out of you, and overall the game does just barely enough to vary the enemy and level design to keep everything at least kinda sorta worthwhile. Like this auto-scrolling level here that evidently takes place on a merry-go-round, or the propeller stage, which is actually pretty tricky. Still, there's a lot here that's just the same old platforming stuff you've played through in a million other games. Yo Noid is a great example of the sentiment, you could do a lot better, but you could also do a lot worse.
Cool Spot, Yo Noid, Pepsiman. Prime examples of games trying to sell you something. On the one hand, it rolls your eyes for you even before you power on the system. On the other hand, there's something refreshing about an entire game recognizing its place as a shill rather than inexplicably having to snowboard through a giant Honda Element. The latter starts out awesome and then becomes jarring. The former jars you right from the jump so you don't get your hopes up. But even then, just because a game is effectively a huge commercial doesn't mean it can't be good. Yo Noid started out as Masked Ninja Hanamaru, a respectable game in its own right, before it got dominoed. Cool Spot was a legitimate platformer with a quality soundtrack, carbonation not included. And MC Kids, which I'm going to pronounce McKids, just McCause, is a perfect example of overshooting your target demographic, creating a game that's actually too good. I know, it's weird. McKids details two children, Mick and Mac, who are conscripted by the evil taskmaster Ronald McDonald to run around in a platforming video game, collect cards, and arches. McDonald's arches. Along the way, there are all sorts of hostile wildlife which you can fend off by bludgeoning them with a block. Kind of like a nutritionally suspect Mario 2, if you want to think of it like that. Mechanically, the game's pretty solid, with aspects like installing blocks and moving platforms, multi-directional throwing, springboards whose behavior varies by how much weight you're carrying at the time, and even platforms that let you run off the edge, around the corner, and onto the underside, thus reversing gravity in your own reference frame. Pretty highfalutin for an NES platformer, and almost completely out of the realm of the 6 to 12 demographic McDonald's was aiming for. Each world requires finding a certain number of cards to advance to the next, which can be found strewn throughout the half a dozen stages within. As such, there's quite a bit of exploring to do, backtracking to try hidden items to try to find. Of course, there's also these bastard arrow block things which fling you all the way back to the beginning of the stage in defiance of physics, compassion, and FDA regulations. You've only got 4 hearts worth of health, what they call the old quadruple bypass in the biz, and you never know when there's some troublemaking, snowball-chucking yeti all hopped up on shamrock shakes. Delicious. Here's the thing, take away all the creepy clowns, fast food-related imagery, and whatever the hell Grimace is, you've got a pretty solid game. It's a decent platformer with quality mechanics, wide areas, and acceptable control. But as typified the NES era, there are plenty of good games out there that were, for the most part, just out of reach of the kids that made up the largest part of the market. But now, you can go back and put things right between you and the clown. Knowing what you now know about nutrition and trans fats and whatnot, you can put your fist through this game. A fist full of nutritious snacks. Because celery is Ronald McDonald's kryptonite. I just made that up, but I'm gonna run with it.